cultural narrative. I would suggest that petroleum issues have a substantial effect on the functioning of our democracy. There can be changes. The debate is broadened beyond the traditional players, despite the past, and despite what Darren has explained, is the attempt to turn the debate into two sides, to turn it into people who are against the country and those who are the Canadian national project bearers. Perhaps only for the same cold, calculating reasons of self-interest that led their predecessors to eventually settle. The West and the rest, including First Nations, may be stumbling toward a compromise. This conference is a really good step on that route, I think. Thank you.
Excellent presentations. Mary, you said something that I thought could be the subtitle of A History of Canada, a morality play in which everyone sees themselves as the good guys. I thought that was a great line. That's your next book. So I'm going to open it up for questions. I think over here.
Hello, Felix Wangaya. Some very eloquent stuff there, I must be honest. A couple of points. Darren, I've been thinking for some time that Harper's kind of eulogism of the North is, would you say it's kind of akin to a Nazi or German kind of blood and soil kind of approach, with the nice sort of romanticism of Sir John Franklin and his valiant crew? But coming back to Mary, the interesting thing about the politics of Canadian oil is, like in 1961, Washington basically told Ottawa that, you know, Alberta's going to supply Canada its petrol west of the Ottawa River, Venezuela's going to supply east of the Ottawa River. And it's only when we had the crisis after the Iranian Revolution that Trudeau came up with the National Energy Plan, and it was basically US oil companies and Washington who lobbied him so hard that he had to abandon this. Now, if we go back to what Ezra Levant was saying earlier about ethical oil and this wonderful liberal democracy, which is somewhat in peril at the moment.
Could you please come to a question? I'm sorry, I want to give other people a chance to ask a question.
I just want to ask you, if Washington could actually do that to a country like Canada, what could they actually do to the other 9 countries that he was mentioning, which was, he was then saying are not very ethical?
Please go ahead.
Well, when I did look at what constitutes a petrostate, I realized that the influence of the American government has led to a lot of the formation of repressive governments around the world. For example, one of the essays I read that was the most pivotal, that used regression analysis just to look at economic factors and how states work, broadened the field beyond the traditional Middle East nations, to look at countries such as Nigeria, to look at what's going on in Mexico, countries that produce oil all over the world. And we see there the repression of democracy, partly because a large part of the government revenues are dependent upon foreign actors who are paying royalties, who are subsidizing communities, who are ensuring that those nations function. Without going on about it, it's clear that the influence is huge and it's continuing. As to Canada, I think that the present Conservative government is more federally, is more a function, more crippled by the past than anything I've seen for years. I mean, you could, perhaps I bring a central Canadian viewpoint to this, but it's so evident every time I hear this issue spoken about that the past has haunted the present. And nobody seems to have the willpower to move beyond where we're at to where we should be, to where we could be, to sell a different cultural area. I learned a lot yesterday from Emery Zeman's presentation. It was very helpful in terms of a paradigm.
Over this side of the room.